And we started recording.
All right,
Hello, guys, and welcome back to JT Talks, where we talk about literally anything and everything. I'm John.
and I'm Tony. So, what's on your mind this week?
I don't know about you, but with COVID restrictions still up, I've been actually going to the park more and more. And well, other people must have had the exact same idea as me, because I found myself in a lot of foot traffic.
Foot traffic? You mean there's people outside? I mean, it's not that I would know. I've basically been a hermit.
Well, anyways, that got me thinking, right? Of our population, of Australia, of our immigration program. So I got some stats pulled up here. With the pandemic, closed borders have meant a full stop to immigration and overseas travel. Compare this to last year, when net overseas migration resulted in a net increase to Australia's population of 239,000 people. So, with that being said, do you think we're full? How many Australians are too many?
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity to reevaluate our immigration program and to ask how sustainable our population is. With nobody coming in, now's the time to rethink our approach to growth. Because, as I recall, immigration has propped up our economy and population in recent years.
Well, to discuss this, we have with us in the studio demographer and good friend of JT Talks, Manik Suri. Welcome to the show. How are you going, mate?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to be here for this discussion. This is an important topic for our times because the decisions we make now, they're going to have an impact on the future population and even the well-being of our country.
That's great. So if everything's sorted, let's get into it. Today's topic, Big Australia, and how large should our population be?
Nice segue.
Well, first off, I want to pose this question to Manik. Think back to pre COVID times when people were still crammed like sardines on trains and trams, when the Monash and Ring Road reached peak hours seconds after the Roos crowed home. I know, it seems like ages ago, and I'm not really excited to come back to that time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
does it seem to you that the cities, and Melbourne especially, has become more congested in recent years?
Well, I mean, this is a common problem in many major cities around the world. And I think no matter how well you attempt to manage it, there will always be some form of quote unquote congestion. But I do agree that in terms of Melbourne, the situation could certainly be improved. The city has in fact hit a population of 5 million as of June of last year, which is a 2.3% increase over the previous months. And it's actually expected to reach 8 million by 2050.
Damn, that's a lot of mouth to feed.
It is. Since 2014, the country's
Oh,
population has grown by 1.9 million. More than 670,000 of those extra residents have called Melbourne home, while another 470,000 started living in Sydney. On one hand, this is really great for businesses. You got your inner city restaurants with the line stretching a kilometer down the sidewalk. You got your cafes pumping out 3 espressos every minute. Business is booming. But on the other hand, the congestion has increased to a stage where I personally think it's almost at a tipping point.
yeah, and don't you think that that tipping point calls for measures to be taken to reduce population growth? Because, like, if immigration is like the only thing increasing our population, and so like natural increase is like dead by the water, immigration is essentially the only lever we have in controlling our population growth. It's clear that our current infrastructure can't handle the current numbers we are taking. The Australian Automobile Association's report on road congestion in Australia from 2008 has shown that has grown and average speeds have fallen. This points to more cars on the road and more people on our streets. And so, with that said, is it too much to ask for a reduction in immigration when we're already struggling with our population? So maybe we could like catch up on our infrastructure.
Mm. With more people moving in, obviously there's going to be an increase of vehicles on the roads, putting more strain on our established infrastructure. But as you said, there has been a decrease in the average speeds in our cities. I think Melbourne's average speed fell from 79 kilometers per hour to 74 over the course of 5 years. The same goes for other Australian cities like Sydney and Brisbane, which have seen similar drops. But the research has shown that immigration is a benefit to societies and economies. They pay more tax than take out of government coffers. Most of our intake are not quote unquote leaners, as some politicians have insisted. Out of the 160,000 cap, around 100,000 places were allocated towards the skilled stream.
So, like the doctors, the engineers, the dentists, etc.
Yeah, exactly. The government is doing this because they know that skilled migrants are beneficial for the economy and country. If you recall back to May, I believe ScoMo was against cutting immigration because it would hurt the economy and ethnic communities.
So is that really an issue? From what I see, is that we can use immigration in a more efficient and effective way, per se. Can't migrants be relocated to the regions and made to work there for a specific period of time before being allowed to move out, elevating the pressure of the major cities? This would this could address the drain of regional Australia, a two for one. Similar to
Um,
the projects conducted in Queensland, we could also revitalize more barren lands and move people more inwards towards rural areas. Although it may not seem to be an attractive idea at the start, if we could get those initial numbers, more and more people will flood to these rural areas and create more jobs. And from this, we can establish more cities towards the center of Australia on more developed land. There's also the side note of a bigger population, meaning bigger potential for a bigger tax base and an increase in consumer spendings, as well as the increase of different cultures, which can give us different perspectives on innovations.
um, Government did implement something like this last year with the regional visas. Basically, this classified anywhere in Australia except for Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane as regional. The allure of this visa is that it requires only a minimum of 3 years in order to be eligible for permanent residency, as compared to 5 years for the normal visa. I can see the draw of establishing regional visas. It creates incentive to live in small cities, and it could reverse years of people leaving for the big two cities. What I'm concerned about is the lack of infrastructure in these areas. Are these smaller cities and regional areas prepared for an influx of migrants? I also feel like this is ignoring one of the major draws of the big cities, which is being surrounded by familiar faces, if you can say so. We know that immigrants tend to group into cultural clusters because then they can help each other out. What happens when there's no established support structure or any type of infrastructure to assist those migrants?
So then the solution should be to invest, right? Invest in nation building infrastructure, invest in big Australia, to invest in thinking smart. With more people, we just can't have more people on the roads, can we? We need more public transport. We need to rethink how we move around this country. Develop our communities to be pedestrian friendly, to be walkable, so that we can go to the dentist, go to the shops, go to the doctor, to the train station in 10, 20 minutes easily.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, we only have to look to countries like India, where they have a large overpopulation problem, and now the government has to play catch up with their investment and infrastructure. If we don't have a clear strategy in place for our future population, then we could be in the same problem within the next decade or so. Other countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and New Zealand, they're now investing in long term infrastructure because they drive significant long term benefits for the economy when they're really needed now.
So, can we say that immigration is not necessarily the problem, but the underlying infrastructure is?
I think what we can take away from this discussion is that big Australia isn't something to be scared of. I think we need to do more to ensure that our quality of life will improve if our population increases. A big Australia can be a good Australia if we let it become such.
All right. Well, thank you, Manik, for coming to this podcast. This marks the end of our discussion. I hope you had a good time. Uh, John, do you have anything else to say?
Oh yeah, be sure to catch our other podcasts on every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday on Australian Eastern Standard Time at 5 p.m.
All right.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.